Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. It is Sunday the 8th of July. The whole of Britain is going mad for the fact that Andy Murray has become the first male Briton to get into a Wimbledon final in over 73 years. Conveniently forgetting, of course, Virginia Wade, but, you know, for a long time. On Friday, there were a lot of headlines going, hey, it's the first Briton. Actually, it's not. There was this lady who went and won it, but, you know, never mind. But yeah, just a quick video, well, quickish. My thoughts on Crysis, the original Crysis, which I downloaded from the PSN store. You can get it on there now. I think it's about $15, £12, maybe about €13. Before I start, that is one thing that does annoy the hell out of me, right? Something's announced, you know, like whether it's a new console or whatever is announced at Sony's E3 conference, $250, 250 quid. Why is it not reduced? And actually, that's something that seems to happen a lot with the UK. For some inexplicable reason, something can be 99 cents, but it's also 99p, hence more expensive. Why? It's a digital download. You're not having to pay more for it, are you? You know, there's no extra cost for the company at large. It's a scam. It pees me right off. Anyway, Crysis looks great. Really, really impressive, actually. I'm really impressed by the fact that they managed to get that game, which when it came out in 2007, you know, there was the whole thing of, is your PC man enough to run Crysis? And most people are like, no, I'm not man enough. But I thought it was, I thought the CryEngine 3 and the reimagining of the game was fantastic. It's only the single player, you don't get the multiplayer, but really, really good fun. Unfortunately, it does fall into that trope of having really annoying boss battles in the style of, hey, we're going to put you into a room, and hey, we're going to lock all the doors, and hey, there's this giant thing that's now going to wander around and try and eat you. And guess what? There's no ammo. Ha 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 ha. You're going to have to run around. It's just so annoying. And it's really cheap, I think, for a lot of video games. Deus Ex Human Revolution is a great example of a great game spoiled by 3 absolutely, you know, boss battles that, I mean, particularly the first one, and particularly if not like myself, but like a guy I was listening to on a games podcast, who was talking about the fact he played the entire game as a stealthy guy, you know, just walking up, I'm just going to hack this door, walks in, suddenly he's confronted by a guy with a minigun and a rocket launcher in a small room, and you're like, wow, there's a lot of choice here, isn't there? And I read the interview with the guy from Square Enix who designed it. I think it's sorry, Square Enix or Eidos? No, I think their publisher. I think it was Eidos Montreal who did it. Talking about the fact that it was like, well, it is, you have to understand that at some point you are going to be funded, and there are sometimes you can't have a choice. Really? Well, it's an entire game based on choice. But I digress. Crysis, as I said, looks beautiful, great open world play. I love the idea of a big open space with a shooter. So rather than it just being a Twitch shooter where you go down this corridor and we shoot people, and after a while, for me, particularly with those kind of Twitch shooters, like a bit like the end of the Matrix, where Neo gets up and suddenly he can see the green and he can see the fact that he is effectively just in a coded reality. With a lot of these games, something very similar starts happening. I can almost start seeing, you know, sort of the planes of the level, and no matter how beautiful the graphics might be, I know I'm fighting a sprite in a box. Usually with a difficulty level that's been ramped up, and I'm always think that whole thing about, hey, guess what, it's the end of the game, we have to make it more difficult, what are we going to do, we're going to put you in a space with something with a chainsaw or an alien or whatever it might be. It's just like, guys, really, it's not the circus. Be more imaginative than that. I think another game that thankfully wasn't spoilt by a boss battle, but probably one of the most recently, the worst boss battles I've ever played, was actually in Batman Arkham Asylum. For all of you who've played the bit with Poison Ivy, I mean, that was literally like going back to an old Sega Mega Drive game. You know, running along the bottom of the screen, hiding, shooting up at the boss in the middle, running at the other side, hiding. You know, come on. You know, this is 2011, not 1985. You've got some better ideas than that. And if you're going to do boss battles, try doing them like the Castlevania Lords of Shadow did them. Make them fair, but also multi-layered, so you kick the crap out of it a bit, and then it runs off, and then you come back and you punch it a bit more, and then you have another. It becomes a bit more interesting, rather than just sort of, again, what we had at the end of Crysis, which I won't spoil, but big thing shows up, spawning enemies, no ammo, being shot from all sides, and then all these other things start going on. I mean, there was, for some reason, my ability to change weapons suddenly malfunctioned, and I was running around going, I can't fire, what am I doing? And you're like, okay. But a good game, definitely buy it. But one of the things I did want to bring up with Crysis. As I'm talking to you, it's now 5 minutes, and for the last 15 to 20 minutes, the credits have been rolling. I've actually got them muted, so I may jump off just in case anything shows up. But one of the things that has got really annoying in games at the moment is the idea that you have credits. There are usually a cutscene in it, you know, a spoiler or whatever. But if you skip the credits, you skip the cutscene. And so you have to spend 20 minutes watching and hearing about the fact that the Indonesian branch marketing manager was some woman or some bloke. You don't care about that. Who cares about that? And the idea that you can actually miss a cutscene and miss a piece of information because you can't be bothered to find out the name of the community manager, or the fact that, you know, the localization services. I mean, who cares? I've heard someone recently arguing for the idea of localized credits, and I think that's a really good idea. In your particular vicinity or your locality, just find out the guys who made the game. If there wasn't anybody, don't bother. Just show the cutscene. I mean, I can understand it in a film, in a sense. That's a scroll reel, isn't it? That's just keeping going. But the idea that you have to find out about every single person, half of which weren't involved in the game, they were just, you know, executive producers or the, you know, CEO or the COO of EA, whatever it might be. I mean, who cares? You know, get rid of this rubbish. We don't care. You know, put some stuff up together that we're actually going to be interested in. Give us more story. Give us more cut. As I said, you know, boss battles in boxes, credits where you skip it and you miss a cutscene. All of this is really, really getting on my last nerve. I think we do need a bit of a revolution in gaming. I think that the technology is now there. The problem at the moment are the ideas, and everything is becoming very stale. And no matter how good the game is, they seem to be stealing from one another. It's like, oh, well, we do this, we do it. I mean, I'll give you another example of the old. We just have to ramp up the difficulty because you're getting close to the game. Two examples. One, Bulletstorm. Great game, fantastic game. Go out and buy and play Bulletstorm because who was it? People Can Fly, I think, made it. I think they're working on the new Gears, the new newest addition to the Gears franchise that I think was shown at Microsoft's E3 conference. You know, that was a fantastic game. It was fun as hell. I mean, the bit with the dinosaur was just so much fun. It was amazing. But at the end of the game, suddenly it's like, oh, you're getting near the end of the game. It's a bit easy, isn't it? What are we going to do? I know. We'll put you in a room with 3 of the things that took you 10 minutes to kill before 1. That was a poor sentence, but you know what I mean. It was like, come on, guys. Okay, I'll shoot him. Oh, but no. Your gun's jammed. So what am I supposed to do? Punch him? Call him names? Throw insults at him? You know, I think it's lazy. And I think that if you can go to all of the trouble of creating, you know, a world and imagining that world with all of the art design, etc., you can spend a bit more time having a think about how do we make the game in such a way that it's not just a rehash of ideas that this guy's already seen before. So yeah, I'm not a fan of boss battles. They pay me right off. It's one of the reasons I love playing things like Skyrim because, well, I suppose actually in Skyrim there was a boss battle of sorts, but even there it was a bit more interesting. But I hate boss battles. They're just rubbish. Unless it's something like Castlevania, where they are big and stylized and you feel like, you know, it's something you really want to be a part of. But yeah, I'm just completely out on those kind of things at the moment. But as I said, definitely go out and buy Crysis, or get on your Xbox. I'm not sure if it's on XBLA actually. I imagine it probably would be. Get on the PSN, download it. You'll have a blast of a time. It's really good fun. As I said, it's only like 10 to 12 quid. You've got no excuse for buying it. You know, you have no excuse. Go and support. I mean, particularly given the state of the games industry at the moment, where if something isn't a AAA title, it's going to tank. One final thing I was going to touch on in this video actually was this issue that's come up recently around Assassin's Creed 3 and whether or not it's got a slightly anti-British element to it. Now, I will say this. I've watched all the trailers for Assassin's Creed 3 and all I've seen is redcoats getting stabbed up. Now, I can understand that if Connor was was you know, one of the I'm going to call them separatists. I think that's good. You know, revolutionists, separatists. If he was a separatist and that, you know, and let's say at the beginning you had a scene of a redcoat or whatever raping his mum or cutting his mum's head off or something, I could understand it that way. But he's not. The whole idea with the Assassins and the Templars is they're just two groups who are within whichever leading political or religious factions at the time, and while the rest of the world is going on are having a punch up. You look at any of the Assassin's Creed games, whether it's the Crusades, whether it's the whether it's the Medici and no, not the Medici. Who am I thinking of? I can't remember now, but I'll might put a link up to them. The Borgia, thank you. Them, or whether it's whether it's the problems in relation to Constantinople and the Ottomans, etc. The story of the Templars and the issues in relation to Eden, as it were. I'm not going to spoil it very much here. I'm going to try not to. Have always just been kind of going on underneath, and in a sense, it hasn't mattered who was winning, because that's not the main story. The main story is it's actually all about the struggle between the Assassins and the Templars. But this, and all of the material and all the marketing that has been done from this thus far, has been in the style of, rise up against the evil oppressor, stab them, shoot them, cut their heads off, and all the rest of it. And I can understand that. The only point I would make is this. The Ubisoft have been fairly strong on the idea that what they were saying was that there wasn't an anti-British, let's call it empire. There wasn't an anti-imperial bias, but you would be part of it. But there has been none of that in their marketing, and I don't know. I think that they've kind of got a slight issue when it comes to their choice of the marketing campaign, because you have to remember, outside of the USA and Japan, the United Kingdom has got the largest console install base of anywhere in the world. It is, I think, the UK is larger than the rest of all of Europe put together, and quite a lot of other countries put together. I mean, I think there are something like 9 million PS3s in the UK. I'd be very surprised if there aren't 10, 11, 12 million Xboxes. So that's a huge market. And for Ubisoft to want to recoup its money, obviously it's going to hope it's going to sell well in the US, and of course we would imagine it would, but it's also got to recoup its money from the UK market. So why would you market the game in such a way that it looks anti-British? It's just stupid. Now, for the conspiracy theorists among you, you might say, well, Ubisoft is based in Montreal, it's Quebecois, they don't exactly like the British, it's a good way to have a stick at them. Maybe. I don't know. I would just say this: if you really are offended by the game, don't buy it. We live in a free society. We live in a market economy. If you don't like it, if you think it's anti-British, all the rest of it, don't buy it, or buy it second hand, or borrow it off a mate. That's surely got to be the way to deal with it. I do think that the Rise trailer that came out on Independence Day and was a specifically Europe targeted trailer was a bit stupid. You had a scene where, a scene of a redcoat waterboarding some guy, and or this sort of poor frightened child sort of turning to the camera and going, "I'm being attacked." Come on, Ubisoft, get your marketing sorted out. The way to market this game to a British audience was always going to be, it's a rip-roaring, rollicking old piratey-esque, you're going to run around and stab people. Couching it in the language of July 4th and the American Wars of Independence, and sort of dressing the British up as these evil people who torture children, is a bit of a dumb idea when it comes to a marketing campaign. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on it. I'll be interested to see playthroughs and all the rest of it, but I do think they might have shot themselves in the foot here, because it only needs one or two people, particularly with Twitter, etc., as it is now. It only needs one or two people to really not like it, particularly one or two people who've got a fairly large following, and you've got a Twitter storm microcosm there of bad publicity and bad PR that can do serious damage. And given the incredibly reactionary nature of your average gamer, something doesn't happen, oh, disaster, or something else happened, I'm offended. Are you really? Probably not. But it is that sort of instantaneous reaction, I would say quite immature sometimes, to be honest. Fair enough. But in that light, is it a really good idea to do a marketing campaign that could actually potentially pee off what outside of the United States is probably going to be your largest audience? And actually I would say it's going to be your largest audience. I don't think you sell, I haven't looked at the figures, but I'll be very surprised if Assassin's Creed sells at all in Japan. So yeah, bit of a rant. Buy Crysis. Hate bosses. Hate stupid credits. Bit of a fail on Ubisoft. Cheers.